in the terms of even chatbots, right? I say to them, there are chatbots and then there are chatbots, right? They're not equally the same, like jumping on ChatGPT doesn't mean that you understand AI. It doesn't,
Right.
you know, and there really is a difference when it comes to seeking the right professional, that has the right product for what you're looking for your business. And it goes the same way with even companies that do AI. It's seeking exactly what you feel like your business needs, and then seeking, because there are different categories of AI. There are different companies that handle different things with AI. They're voice agents. They're all these different things. And because it's an emerging technology, and you can do so much with it, I find that it not only learns, right, but people are learning as well as creating new software. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a wonderful episode with Tatiana, and she's going to share her insights, her business, her entrepreneurial journey. Tatiana, thank you for coming on our podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And I want to start this journey today by starting, where you're coming from, the journey of where your entrepreneurship started and where you are now.
Okay, great. So a little bit of background on me. I was born in Kharkiv, Ukraine, which has seen better days.
Mhm.
It's being completely destroyed at the moment. My family came to the United States as political refugees when I was 4 years old. And so, it was always, I lived up in a family that just was hustling all the time, right? Trying to make ends meet. We lived in a tiny little studio apartment, the whole family in, one room apartment when we first came to the United States. All of our furniture was basically from the trash and from other people's kind of castaways. I remember walking along the streets, when I was 4 and 5 years old, like looking for things on trash day, right, that we could use in the house. And so that kind of hustle culture was very deeply ingrained within me. That nobody was gonna save you. You always had to save yourself. That organizations and institutions come and go, but it's the people around you who really matter. And all of that, and my parents really thought that, children should start working as soon as they're capable. So anytime there was a snowstorm, it was like pick up the shovel and go shovel snow, right, for the neighbors, and work all day long until, you couldn't find any more customers for the day. I started doing that when I was 9 years old, because again, in my family, it was a very normal thing to just go out and start making things and doing things and making things happen. Without the kind of ethos was always, don't wait for anyone to ask you to do something, just pick up the shovel and go do it, go make it, and then I had my first full-time job when I was 12 years old, the summertime job, working for a doctor's office as a receptionist. I also filled out Medicaid forms and Medicare forms. And he actually even taught me how to do EKGs on people. So, started taking on a lot of responsibility when I was young. And then the first business that I ever started was when I was 18. Started a business with my father, because the property values in our area had dropped, and the property taxes, a lot of people didn't really know that they could very easily appeal their property taxes. So again, we went like door to door, knocking on people's homes saying, hey, did you know that your property taxes should have been lowered this year, and started getting leads that way. And so in the recent past, my entrepreneurship journey has been more in the way of consulting, having my own consulting firm, working with a lot of companies, startups, technology firms here in Silicon Valley to help advise them on product strategy. And then recently, I became the founder and the CEO of Wayfound, which is an AI agent platform, which again I founded, and that's my latest stop on my entrepreneurship journey. So lots of different stops along the way.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And I know we've spoken before about what that journey looked like. How has it been transitioning before between consulting and where you're now?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was not planned. So what I have to say is in my life, I try to sense where the world is going and what is needed of me, especially in the last few years. And I respond to, I think, what the world needs of me, as opposed to me trying to make something, right? Or me trying to kind of like muscle it out. So it was not a plan of mine to be the CEO of, a really deep tech company in AI. That was not the plan. That was not a goal. In fact, I never really wanted to be the CEO of like, a pretty significant organization. But I felt that there were just many things that were coming together, and I was being asked again and again and again in different ways by the universe, providing opportunities or providing introductions or putting me in the same room as, really important people in the AI space. And there were just all of these signs that this is something that I should be doing, and this is something that I would be successful in. And so I just really listened to the signs, to be quite honest. And, I haven't, I needed to wind down my consulting business while I was ramping up, Wayfound, which is the AI agent company. But it was actually pretty seamless. And because again, I was listening to what the world needs from me. I was listening to what organizations are going through right now, as opposed to me trying to like set a goal and achieve my goal. Like that's not how this happened for me. It more really happened by me responding to opportunities, as opposed to trying to make something happen from my brain, if that makes sense.
It does. And, when we spoke and we were talking about how fast it ramps up, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was actually really interesting because again, I really didn't. I was the way that that this started with Wayfound was I was actually I was consulting for another company, and I had an idea for them, and they were a venture studio, and they, the head of the venture studio said, "This is a great idea. I really want you to start this and to lead this." And yeah. And at first I kind of said like, well, this is not my plan. That was not what I planned to do. But as soon as I said yes, all of these things started showing up. So the engineering team showed up. The engineer was like, totally on board with, the same way that I was thinking about things. So now it's really a shared vision between him and me that we're driving toward. And then other people from my network started showing up and wanting to work, some of whom are working for free, honestly, just because they love the vision and the plan and what we're doing and what we're trying to create. And then investors literally started just showing up also. And right now in this current market, it's not very easy to get funding before you are making revenue, a significant revenue. But it was, within, 2-3 months, I had a term sheet for, several $1,000,000. And, we're still trying to close off the round because, there's ideally there would be a little bit more, but it's been really, very magical. And I feel really grateful for, again, how much support it feels like the universe, has been giving me in order to kind of make this happen and make this real. And I feel grateful and I feel blessed every day that this is happening so quickly with such amazing people who are coming in to support what we're creating.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. And do you feel like a lot of this success and has to do with your previous network, or is it more just like being divinely guided?
It's both, but I think that the previous network was also divinely guided. I think
Awesome.
that these people came into my life because there was a plan for us to do something together in this new emerging age of AI, when it's so important for us to understand how to really work with these new capabilities, these new AI capabilities. And the people who were part of my network from before magically are exactly the right people
Wow.
to help with this next endeavor.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's again, I do think that this is divinely guided. And I think that there's real value that we're building for our customers and for companies. But there's also a lot of value that we're building for, I think, humanity in terms of really helping organizations and people, right? Because organizations right now are just are employees, and employees are people. Understand how to really work alongside AI in the best way. And so,
Mhm.
just so that I can tell you, before we get into this, so Wayfound, and anybody can go to wayfound.ai and chat with one of our agents that we've built. It's a platform for building and managing AI agents. So it's an interesting concept. It's sort of like a workday for AI, where you can onboard agents. You can build them. So that's one thing, you don't do in Workday. You don't build your employees, but you can train them. You can put them on like a training program. You give them all the content that they need. You can make sure that they work really well. So there are three main use cases that people are using Wayfound for right now. One of it, which is lead gen on their website. So replacing a dumb chatbot with a smart agent that can actually interact with people like a human being, answer questions, but also take action. So if you want to schedule a meeting with me, you can do it through our agent. I'll just go into my calendar and book a meeting. You don't have to go through some other steps or processes. So that's one thing. Another one is onboarding. So right now, if you have a complicated onboarding flow, you can tell the agent, this is this particular customer, this is what they should be doing for onboarding. Please take them through it, right? So you can have like a more personal experience. And then the third one is really creating extremely custom, personalized product sort of experiences, online products. So if you have a particular customer, you can get their information to serve the customer better. So for example, companies that have a digital product, it doesn't have to be a generic digital product. It could be a digital product customized for that particular person, and then the
Mm.
agent can take actions also to make that really customized. So that's what we're building. And what that means is that you can also manage these AI agents, so you can see what they're doing. You have real insight into how they are processing the information, because the really interesting thing that AI does is that like it self-reflects on
Mhm.
what it's doing well. Now it does this automatically, but most products don't actually surface that to the end user. Like, what is the AI actually thinking? How is it assessing itself? What recommendations does it have to
Mhm.
make itself work better? We surface all of that information, and we allow people to really interact with AI in new ways to really help them achieve their business goals much more
Awesome.
efficiently
Mhm.
and with the insight of AI. So, and somehow it feels like both this is a new concept for most people. It's a really valuable concept, right? Because you get the immediate ROI with the agent, but then you also get to learn, and have the agent help, and all the agents in your company help you get better and better at your
Mhm.
business operations. But it also helps people understand, what is this new era that we're entering
Right.
into?
Right.
So people who are worried about losing their jobs really need to understand, what is AI good at and what is it not good at, right?
Correct.
That's step one to like being relevant in this post AI world. So I do think that that's the bigger goal that
Right.
that I'm called to.
No, I am right there with you. Like in our other business as well, where we do AI as well, I find that people do not have the real concept of what AI is,
Right.
what it can do, because everything that's put out there is scary,
Right.
right? And I've encountered a lot of people, and minute you mention, oh yeah, I do AI, they're like, oh, so how do you feel it's going to take over jobs? Because
Right.
they don't really understand it, you know. How are you using it? How are you educating, people on AI?
So the best way to educate people in
Right,
my
in your use case. Mm-hmm.
is to have them just use the product. So if you have a particular use case, right, where you think, hey, I wonder if AI can really help me, create, more leads or a better product experience or something like that, just start using it, right? Build on it. And then you'll see that you can actually build lots of other things. So um, the best way to do it is to just start interacting more and more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and interacting with it in the context of your specific business, not just in terms of ChatGPT. So a lot of people
Right.
are using
Right.
ChatGPT right now.
Right.
They're asking it like random questions, or asking it to, essentially using it as almost like a search engine for just
Mm-hmm.
normal worldly topics. Or, I create a lot of images, right? Now that they have the multimodal capabilities. So that's how most people interact with ChatGPT, but it's not really helping them solve their own business problem.
Right. Right.
Once you start interacting with an AI, and then you start trusting the AI to give you really good answers,
Mm-hmm.
and to be really trustworthy in its recommendations and its judgments over time, things start to change, right? You start to have like aha moments about, oh,
Mm-hmm.
boy, I can do this, I can do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll see in our product also, we have this way of having expert agents. So you can have an agent that's an expert at some, field or some area that some customers really need that expertise for, but some customers don't need that expertise for.
Yeah.
So when an agent is interacting with a particular customer, it can actually call on that expert agent if it's relevant, real time, to get an expert answer. And again, once you start seeing these capabilities, and once you start understanding how this creates real business value beyond the customer support chatbot that, might allow you to fire people, which I'm not really so sure about that particular use case, but we
Right.
can get to that. But this is not about firing people. This is about giving your customers truly custom experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to get yourself into the mindset of what this can do and what can I do with it,
Mm-hmm.
is to just start using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I say that to customers too, right? So in the terms of even chatbots, right? I say to them, there are chatbots and then there are chatbots, right? They're not equally the same, like jumping on ChatGPT doesn't mean that you understand AI. It doesn't,
Right.
And there really is a difference when it comes to seeking the right professional, that has the right product for what you're looking for your business. And it goes the same way with even companies that do AI. It's seeking exactly what you feel like your business needs, and then seeking, because there are different categories of AI. There are different companies that handle different things with AI. They're voice agents. They're all these different things, and because it's an emerging technology, and you can do so much with it, I find that it not only learns, right, but people are learning as well as creating new software.
That's exactly right. Yes. And it, it's a two-way, you're exactly right. It's a two-way learning um,
Mm-hmm.
opportunity when you start to go really deep. So
Yeah.
the biggest sort of leap in learning right now is not using ChatGPT, but building a GPT on your own in the GPT store. But that's really technical for a lot of people. So, one of the things that we do is we make it really simple for people who can't code to build their own GPT-like agent, and then understand what does this thing actually know? How is it actually trained? What can it actually do? because you're right. There's chatbots, which are just like dumb pre-programmed things. And then there are LLM based chat agents that, again, can draw on expertise from here, draw on expertise from there, and then take an action on behalf of the customer, right? They can do so many different things. So once you start really setting that up, that kind of smart, once you start creating and building that kind of custom smart agent for yourself, now you start to like really learn and your eyes open up to be like, oh, this is why everybody's freaking out, right? Or this is why everybody thinks this is a new paradigm. Because honestly, AI has been around for over a decade, right? I mean, AI based,
more than that. When you think about it, because we've been calling all these companies, you know, credit card companies or whatever companies, an agent will come on, you know, and prompt us through, do you want to call this, or do you want to do what step do you want to take? And they don't understand that this is AI. That's AI, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there's the old agents were not, most of them were not AI actually. They were just rules based on a workflow. So they were just if then that rules.
Right.
That's not, you know, that's just like basic.
Automated.
Yes, like that's just like programming rules in to a system, right? And it just follows those rules. And that's why the experiences are so bad usually, because if somebody hasn't thought of your particular situation that you want help with, like those, the if then, and it keeps asking you the same question again and again and again, because it wants you to go back to the rules that it has programmed. But AI, you know, there was like ML based AI, which, you know, you had to have really, really structured data in order for the system to learn. The really new thing right now with AI is that you don't have to have structured data. You can just dump anything into the content, and the system, the software learns on its own. You don't have to program the different steps. You don't have to program the logic. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. It will figure it out based on the unstructured data that you have not massaged. You don't need a data scientist anymore. You don't need a data science team anymore, because you just put it all the information, and then magically the LLM figures it out in the same way that a human kind of figures it out when you're training them, right? So if you think about onboarding an employee, you might say, hey, you know, hey, here's the information about, you know, the different accounts that we have, right? So you go to this information, and then this is our overall process for onboarding new customers. Now your job, oh, and here is our company values and our brand guidelines about how we show up, you know, for our customers, right, as employees of this company. And that's it. You just give, you know, the employee that information, and the employee, a smart employee, will figure out how to put those pieces of information into the right interaction for a customer. They don't need to be like told step by step how to do it, right? Like they'll figure it out. So these new LLMs, they do the same thing. You give them just those 3 pieces of information, and then they figure out what is the right way to interact with a customer to get them onboarded. Exactly what they do. It's pretty incredible.
It is awesome. And is your market mostly like people that are in the space or individual consumers? So are you targeting mostly AI business, marketing agencies? Like who is your main customer?
So our main customer are businesses who want to create great custom customer experiences, right? So we put the custom back into customer. So most customer experiences today, they're digital companies, right? So they have a digital offering. And that digital offering is, you know, standardized, right? It's generic, right? So again, think about an onboarding flow, or think about on your website, right? You're trying to like get a lead, right? By somebody who's visiting your website, you're trying to convert them into a lead. Like what most people do is they have this like generic website, right? Because you can't make a custom website for every single customer who comes to your website. Right? You don't know what their questions are going to be. You don't know what they're going to be interested in. But now you can create an agent on the website that then says, hey, customer, you're here. What are you specifically interested in? What can I tell you that you're interested in, as opposed to having to click through this generic experience, right? We can actually just say, hey, customer, what are you interested in? We'll just tell you what you want. And by the way, our agents have video and images embedded too. So if they're thinking like, well, I still need a website because I have images and I have video. No, with the thing that OpenAI announced just a few weeks ago, GPT 4.0, you can have images and video right in that chat based on what the customer is interested in. And so they don't have to navigate through this generic experience.
That is cool.
Yeah, you give them a custom experience based on what they want to know.
That is cool. That is cool. And it's live and up and everything's good to go.
It's live, it's open. We have customers building on it now. I need to integrate more images. I need to make more images for my company. So when people go to wayfound.ai, our agent has those images and videos, but we're a startup, so we don't have them yet. I have to create them and then get them in. But yeah, it's all live to go and ready to go. And we've got customers already using and building their agents on Wayfound.
And you know what I love? I love to hear that you still have work to do. You know why? Because I think as an entrepreneur, we think that it's like one step, but there's so much in the process of even building the business, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much also in the process of, continuing. So I'm the sales person, I'm the product person, and I'm the marketing person at the moment.
Of course. So, why not wear all those hats?
all the hats. And so, if I want a new website, I have to write it, right? And then if I want a new agent, I have to create it. I have to create the images for it. Fortunately, I do have a designer, an amazing designer coming in who's going to help me with all that. So I'm also waiting until she gets here so that I don't make something embarrassing and have her like say, this is terrible, Tatiana. But yeah, it's always, one of the things about this role of entrepreneurship and, also founding in many ways, a VC backed company that, the expectation, right, is that you're going to grow really quickly. Right. That's my hope as well, right. Because I want to have maximum impact on the world. And that's why I decided to make this a VC backed company, is that there's so much to do every single minute. And there are so many problems that you see as the founder that maybe a lot of other people don't see. And especially when you're trying to build something that's truly transformative for the world, your vision is like out here and you're trying to like keep up the business operations so that it's like it keeps going toward that vision. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
It is. And what systems are you putting in place, or what systems do you feel like every entrepreneur should put in place in order to do that and be able to service that big goal, that big vision in their life?
Yeah. So I'll say there's a couple of things. The first is to make sure that that you have established a real cadence with the people that you work with, where they know that there is going to be every week, there are 2 or 3 deadline dates where you meet with them and you ask them the update on whatever it is that they were supposed to deliver, right? So I've always done this. I do 2 to 3 sort of syncs, like team syncs a week. And a lot of people call these stand-ups, but I call them, whatever, some kind of team meeting. And the reason why, and what people understand, is this is the meeting where I go through every single person and every single function if it's a larger organization, but right now it's every single person. And, I say, hey, where are we on this? Where are we on this? Right? Show me. And a lot of times that's the time for people to show me the work, right? And show each other the work. Because again, when you're only 5 people, and we're not even 5 yet, we're 3, 2 more are coming on board soon this month, but not yet. Or next month, actually, because it's still May. So they're coming on board in June. every single person should transparently know everything that everybody else is doing.
Mm.
These things are that opportunity to do that, right? Because you're such a small team, you want everyone chipping in wherever they can and helping out, and you need everybody to be on the same page all the time. So I would say that that's the number one mechanism is 2 to 3 meetings per week where every single person gives everybody else not just an update on where they are, but also is ready to show their work about what they've done, right? Either a demo or share the doc or, whatever they've produced to the rest of the team. I think that's really important. The other systems, frankly, we're figuring it out. I do really advocate for working in Google Docs in almost everything in the and the reason why is two things. One, it's really collaborative, again, so you have maximum transparency across the team. But the second thing is that people don't need to learn a new, so people like to buy fancy, software tools like Notion or this or that to do things. But the problem is, one, as you don't want to spend a lot of money. A lot of these things charge per seat. So then you start making the decision, well, who really needs access to, this tool? And as soon as you start making that decision, then you start excluding people in your company, in your tiny little company, from access to that information. I don't think that's ever a good idea.
Well,
so I would say just stick to, whenever you can, just again, Google Suite, put everything in Google Suite because everybody has access to it. It's pretty cheap. And nobody is going to be locked out of a system because, somebody else has bought this and hasn't bought them a seat.
And it's funny you say that, a lot of businesses start up and they don't realize all of those small costs that go into it. Just even having a Calendly, every seat for every software requires an additional upgrade, and it becomes very pricey as your company grows. So that's a huge tip.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's to think about before you start buying, software because this is cool or that's cool, or this works really well for this use case. Just think about, could this actually be done in a Google Sheet and get 90% of the value? And then if it can, then there's probably an additional 50% value to having everybody be able to view it, and not be locked out of it, right? And so now again, I think that a lot of people are just thinking very narrowly,
right,
in a functional way. So the shift from being in a big company to being in a small company and being an entrepreneur for, a startup is that in big companies, you have big functions. You have, dozens or hundreds of people in a particular function. And so you have highly specialized software for that function because it makes sense because you have hundreds of people, right? Dozens or hundreds of people. In a small startup, you've got, a handful of people. And it's really important for them to all be on the same page all the time. So if you've got like the 2 engineers using specific engineering software to manage their work, but nobody else can get into it, that's probably not worth it,
Or even they have to take the time to learn it, and that's another huge thing, right? Because you're now talking about them taking time away from what they need to be doing to drive the business forward, learning this software. And sometimes in learning it, they're missing steps because they're just trying to use the function that they need to use at that moment and missing all the other important steps in the process.
That's right. That's exactly right. Even with like CRM and stuff like that, I'm evaluating right now, like, is it really worth it at our scale to buy something like a Salesforce or a HubSpot? Or should we just use a Google Sheet because then everybody can see it, right? Because again, like then every time you put somebody else on, right, it costs money. Every time you give somebody else access, it costs money. And so, Yeah. So it's the question always is transparency and being able to move quickly through transparency, and not make people sit in a lot of meetings to share information is a really critical piece of just the operational perspective. The other thing is like, so one thing, so I brought up the engineering example because the engineers really do want to use a different software system to manage the roadmap. Okay. So now we're saying, well, could we then have an AI agent that actually looks at that particular roadmap? And then even if I don't have access to that tool, I can ask the agent that has access to that tool. Like, is that a workaround that we have? So I will get back to you because we're building that right now.
Yeah, if you build it right and can give my AI agents, right, some tools to be able to open docs from, that would be perfect.
So that's what we're doing. And so we're going to start building all of these. Well, we already have quite a few, right? We've got the lead gen agent, we've got a product manager agent, we've got an onboarding agent, we've got all of these different agents, that we're using to run our business, which makes it a lot more cost efficient. But we're going to start building a lot more. Like we're going to be building a budgeting agent and a finance agent, right? And a cap table agent. So again, these agents are going to know about these different topics. They're going to be experts in these different topics. And so you can ask them, or you can ask an agent that has access to that other expert agent. And then maybe we won't need to buy all of this, complicated software because we'll just have agents working together to do all these things.
Oh, that's so cool. Question, does your or do your agents now integrate with other companies' agents? So for example, if someone would like to buy your product, right, and they already have their systems in place and they already have their own agents, can it integrate?
Yes, it can. So we have a whole set of APIs so that you can basically swap out, or you can augment, right, your current agent systems with Wayfound. So if you have a UI that you love, but you want to reconfigure the functionality in Wayfound, you can keep your UI, as long as, again, as long as there's an API that we can connect into, as long as it's componentized that way, you can plug it in. We have a whole developer center with our API documentation to allow people to do that. Yeah.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Like after we first met, I went and I was telling you before about like the group of people that were all in the whole AI space, right? And I was telling them about your product. And I was like, I dropped the link. I'm like, hey, listen, everybody needs to go check it out, see what it's about, whatever. And it's so cool because there's so many people that have created all these different like all these different tools to be able to use AI efficiently. And when I introduce it, they're like, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Well, I mean, and it's actually astoundingly easy to set up, to be quite honest. Once you get the mental framework of like, I have to give it content, I have to train it on some content, I have to give it some like rules, right, to follow. And then I have to give it action to some software systems where it can then take action if that's what it needs to do. And then you basically test it, right, to see that it behaves the way that you want. And then you put the UI somewhere, or you give somebody the QR code or the link, and you're good to go, right? It just sort of starts working like an employee, right, after you've onboarded them.
And what's your long-term vision for this? Like entrepreneurially, like where do you see this journey going?
Well, I mean, again, my goal, and this is why it's a venture capital backed startup, is to make this one of the biggest companies in the world. The goal is to really create the way for companies to interact with AI agents to get their full value. Because I think like right now, people are just scratching the surface of the potential value. Like if you're just doing like a customer service chatbot, you're not really getting the full value unless it's like really helping you understand recommendations, unless it's working with other agents, unless it's, taking actions in other ways. And so the goal is really to help people both transition to this new world of working productively with AI, and then be the biggest company, around to really support businesses as they run more efficiently, more effectively, and with better insights and with better customer experience. This is the other thing. This is not just about cost cutting. In fact, it's mostly not about cost cutting. It's about taking away all of those generic customer experiences and giving the customer their own personal, customized experience. That's what this is really about. So, that's what I think that's where we're heading.
Wow. I think we've come literally full circle from your beginning to where it's with where you are right now, in terms of that whole journey. And coming from a consulting background then, right? If you were to consult another company on integrating their business, what would you be looking at?
So, it's interesting because as a consultant, you're always limited in a way because you don't know how all the sausage is made. And a lot of times people aren't going to tell
Expose
you.
everything.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you all the bad stuff that's
Right.
happening in the company. Even if you've hired, this is what I found, I spent a long time as a consultant. And what I found is that one of the reasons why consultants are usually not successful, well, there are really two reasons that consultants usually aren't successful. They don't fully know all the problems because the client isn't going to tell them all the real awful problems, right? Because they're just embarrassed, or they hope it'll go away, or they hope it'll get fixed with this new solution. So they don't really have to tell them. The second is that, consultants don't really have the power to make their judgment calls. And then they're not on the hook for, if something's going to go wrong or something's going to go right. So consultants can always afford to be more courageous because they're actually not held accountable for anything, right?
Right.
If it goes wrong, they blame the client for not implementing their idea correctly. And if it goes right, they're like, oh, look at me, I was so brilliant, right? And so that's just to say that if I were a consultant, kind of consulting people on this, I would say, first of all, recognize that this is really about you taking the steps and having the courage to lead your organization in a different direction. This is not about me or my ideas, right? And this is about saying, where can you really make a big transformation in your customer's experience that's going to have real value to them and to your organization? And then let's start experimenting with some quick ways that you can start to see and start to test if this is going to really make a difference in your customer's life and in their perception of how valuable your company is. So, so that is, I think it's really time to create experiments, but not experiments that are just fun internal things that engineers are doing, but customer facing experiments, right? What if you started replacing certain parts of your website with an agent? Or what if you started augmenting certain parts of your website with an agent, and then just see, right? Measure if people are using the agent or are liking to click around the website. And if you're getting better leads through the people who are having the more custom conversations.
Right.
So just start doing that, start putting it in front of customers, and start to see where you're building value. And then also make sure that you have visibility into what the AI is doing, what the agents are doing, how they're recommending what the next best steps are with customers, and that you actually understand what's going on under the hood with AI and with the agents that are interacting with your customers. Because if you don't have any visibility into that, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to take the next step to create an even better experience. So that's what I would advise everybody to do. And I would probably advise folks to just realize that consultants at the end of the day are not going to give you all the answers that that you have yourself as a business
Right.
person.
Right. And if you had to give your younger self advice, right, what would it be? If you're going back, giving yourself any kind of advice to help you along this journey, what would it be?
Interesting. I mean, I feel pretty blessed and grateful for my journey. Honestly, I've gotten to work on all six, well, six continents, never worked on Antarctica, which has been incredibly valuable. I think that for entrepreneurs who haven't worked on a couple of different continents outside of North America, I would highly recommend doing that.
Wow.
I learned an enormous amount by working in other cultures, helping other cultures make decisions about go-to-market plans, about product, about, like just seeing the real difference around the world and how culture intersects with product development, go-to-market strategy, how you're talking to customers, all of that, super valuable. I'm really glad I did that early on in my career. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would just say not to overthink it so much. Like, earlier in my career, the wheels are always turning, but I was overthinking, stressing out about like, is this the right decision? Is this not right decision? And at the end of the day, I do think that if you're following your intuition, you're making the right decision, even though you don't necessarily know why it's the right decision right now.
Mm-hmm.
That might become clear 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Like, again, why was I doing all this work in Africa and Asia and other places around the world? Wasn't necessarily clear to me until 10 years later, when that perspective really helps me, I think, as a CEO to understand like all of the context about where this company might go in the future, because I understand what global expansion might mean. And again, we're not there yet, but again, having that background is super valuable, I think, for those issues later on down the road.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being here today. I mean, this conversation has been enlightening and insightful. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before you leave today?
Well, I do want to just kind of go back to the entrepreneurship journey a little bit and say that there's probably a plan for your life when you got here. And if you're on the path where you're fulfilling the plan and not fighting against the plan because somebody else did this or there's some trend to do that, or your friends are doing whatever, if you're on your life plan that you came in for, everything's probably going to be okay, and things are going to magically appear to help you on your path and on your success. That's what I truly believe, and that's what I found to be true in my own career.
Wow. Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you again. And I mean, oh, share your links. Share your links.
Oh, yes. So if you're interested in AI agents and how we can help your business, wayfound.ai. Chat with our agent, learn about our platform. Again, images and videos coming soon. And you can ask the agent how to schedule a demo with me if you're interested in potentially trying out the platform. And then the best way to kind of keep abreast of all I'm putting out a lot of content. I'm actually writing a book as well on AI for companies. And especially for companies that are, trying to get their product leaders to think differently about their products with generative AI. So that's coming out soon. So again, the best way to follow all my content is just follow my LinkedIn page. Tatiana Mahmoud. I'm the only one on the interwebs. Easy to find me.
That's awesome. And I'm going to put the links for everything down below, so you'll be able to grab it.
Great.
Thank you so much. I appreciated it. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. One tool that I can truly recommend on how you can organize and execute systems is Notion. Notion allows you to seamlessly get information out of your head and into a centralized, organized space. Whether it's documenting processes, managing projects, or brainstorming ideas, Notion can be your go-to platform. As a special offer to our listeners, you can get started with Notion using the link in the episode description. By using our affiliate link, you not only support our podcast, but also gain access to free templates designed to kickstart your journey with Notion. These templates are specifically crafted to help entrepreneurs streamline their workflows and boost productivity. To take advantage of this offer, simply visit the affiliate link below to sign up and explore the free templates available in the resource section. Whether you're a solopreneur, managing a team, Notion can be the game changer you've been looking for. Stay tuned for more episodes where we dive deep into strategies, tools that can empower you as an entrepreneur. And don't forget to subscribe to Entrepreneurial Truth so you never miss an episode filled with actionable advice and insights. Thank you once again for joining us today. Until next time, keep innovating and scaling your business with purpose. Thanks again.